Sasha Banks has been accused of manipulating Naomi into vacating the WWE Women's Tag Team Championships with her, thus kicking off the series of events that resulted in the WWE statement, Corey Graves on air denouncing the two, and everything that has since followed. The WWE seem very keen to lay the blame firmly at their door, and a number of different sources, including wrestling journalists and Naomi's former tag team partner Cameron, are now accusing Sasha Banks of being the instigator. For more of this, as well as an update on what's been happening for Banks' offers from Hollywood and the statement that the WWE put forward, please remember to hit like on this video, subscribe for more information as it comes out. You're watching Spoiler Warning Breaking News with Tom Colohue. The accusation came initially from Cameron in an interview with SE Scoops, who reached out for comment, and has been followed since by Wrestling Observer, for example, Bryan Alvarez and Dave Meltzer. Though there are others from Wrestling Observer, those are the most well known. Sasha Banks, for her part, has not yet commented on this, but to be blunt, a whole lot of people have thus far made zero comment on this whatsoever. The most vocal have been those who have already left the company, but Shayna Baszler did manage to sneak something in, sort of under the wire, because at the moment, when it comes to the locker room, while a lot of people are very supportive of Sasha Banks and Naomi, there is a legitimate concern that people will be fired if they do not toe the company line. One of the main reasons this feeling is so fixed in the narrative at the moment is because of the statement that the WWE released denouncing the current women's tag team champions, Sasha Banks and Naomi, for walking away. Now, as regards the WWE's intention here, they have no will to fire or suspend either Sasha Banks or Naomi. Sasha Banks and Naomi are very high earners for the WWE, and I've mentioned many times before that Sasha Banks is essentially Vince McMahon's favourite person in the world. Yes, I put her over Shane and Stephanie for him because it's Vince after all. There is no intention to fire or suspend, but the WWE have certainly come at this hard. This situation escalated so quickly that it has left a mark on everyone in wrestling. It really has resonated very far, and this means a lot of people genuinely a little worried for their futures at the moment. A large part of this also is that the WWE statement has gone out far and wide. The E! Network have picked up on it. We're going to be seeing TMZ posting something, Bleacher Report and the likes. The actual big-time news that's reached mainstream media has not come from Sasha Banks or Naomi. It's come entirely from the WWE statement. That statement is what most outlets have carried. That statement is what wrestling journalists have carried, but wrestling journalists also took in the opposite. That said, when it comes to the reports recently that have come out from several different wrestling journalists stating that there is a manipulation, or at least a perception of manipulation here, this does really feel like the reports that came out after Keith Lee was fired, stating that he was difficult to work with, or the reports that came out after Bray Wyatt was fired, stating that he was difficult to work with. I get the feeling we're not far off statements being released saying that Sasha Banks was difficult to work with. If you watched my video on this yesterday, you'll be fully aware that WWE propaganda was going to continue. Now, Naomi and Sasha Banks at this point in time, at least when this video was recorded, had not made any statement themselves. The WWE has reached out, but I don't believe there has been considerable contact, and there has been discussions in Titan Towers as to how best to proceed here. From what I'm told, Nick Khan and Vince McMahon don't necessarily agree on a course of action. This is an area in which many believe Vince McMahon has been a little bit too soft, even though he is very unhappy with the situation by and large. There are still reports of producers shouting at Sasha Banks and Naomi, or at least speaking down to them, and I've heard several stories stating that to be true. However, as I say, while I have sources stating that, I also have sources stating the opposite, so I just want to clarify there may potentially be two sides to this one. As regards the future for Sasha Banks and Naomi, the WWE want them to come in, sit down and talk first and foremost. Vince McMahon is believed to be at the forefront of that personally. That said, when it comes to Sasha Banks particularly, she has had a number of high-value Hollywood offers. So given her employment status is not technically an employee, there is a possibility that Sasha Banks at least could potentially walk away from this contract, though I would question the minutiae of the contract details to allow that. American employment law is not something I'm particularly well versed in, and given the current political status, I do believe this would work in Vince McMahon's favour rather than Sasha's. As regards Naomi, the interest is less, but there is a lot of talk right now about how Roman Reigns will feel about this. I don't really want to get into that one in particular because I don't want to reduce the struggle of these two women to, yeah, but if Roman Reigns thinks it's alright, it'll all be fine. Nobody, to my knowledge, in the locker room has waded in support of Sasha Banks or Naomi to Vince McMahon or other high-ups in the company as of yet. To my knowledge, nobody has championed either of them. I will be posting more videos about this as more information comes out, so if you'd like to know more, be sure to click like on this video, subscribe as well as we go forwards. I've been Tom Colohue, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you all very soon.